What's up, boys? Today we are reacting to RFK Jr. once again. Who is Bobby Kennedy? That's what we're reacting to. Easy, slim pickings, you know what I mean? Cool breeze. Today we're reacting to Bobby Kennedy. You know, he's the guy we might actually vote for, and I want to know more about the guy before we make a choice. You know what I mean? We gotta make a logical choice here, boys. So let's get into it. I'm gonna shut my mouth. And we're going to do some reacting to our boy, Bobby Kennedy, man. He's our guy. We want to give him a hug, maybe a kiss. Let me make me smaller. We're finally little people. I'm on his shoulder.
Standard. He's angry at Vanity Fair. His own family hates him. The New York Post. He sounds like he's transmitting from another galaxy. He is so crazy. The New York Post. Kennedy is a humorless bully living in a paranoid fantasy, Vanity Fair. What the is wrong with Bobby Kennedy? He's a walking, talking conspiracy theory, the New York Times. He's completely divorced from reality, The Guardian.
It's crazy how many people hate him. Like, are trying to cancel him and push him to the curb. Right? Both sides. It's crazy. Let's get into it. I'm going to shut up.
He is vile. The White House. Being with him was the low point of my summer. Vanity Fair. Bobby Kennedy speaks with a croaking, rasping, painful-sounding voice.
As a disease.
His vague explanation is that it's a virus. But more likely, it is a crack pipe voice. The Standard. Kennedy is a crank, the New York Times. He is a crank, the New York Times.
Bro, they calling him a crackhead? They're calling our boy a little crackhead. That's crazy.
He's a crank who cranks out whoppers the way Taylor Swift disgorges perfect pop songs, the New York Times. He has conversations with dead people, The Guardian. I wouldn't vote for that guy either.
You know, that's crazy. Hold up, let's zoom in real quick. They make everyone seem like who's actually a decent guy, mentally unstable or crazy or druggy. You know, they make all these people seem like they're on crack, right? Or just mentally unstable. Like Kanye West, but Kanye West did say some crude things, not gonna lie. He said some crazy things. Called himself a god, and that's crazy. But in some circumstances, yeah, it's definitely weird of how they're all trying to cancel him and say, hey man, you're done. You're done.
You're most likely going to have three choices for president on your ballot in November. This guy, and this guy. I realize you probably heard a lot of bad stuff about him these last few years. But what if the bad stuff you've heard wasn't even true?
Wait, is that Woody Harrelson? This is the same guy who's talked about companies and telling the folk to not buy stuff from certain companies because that's what they depend on, right? Magical, right? That's pretty cool. And he's friends with Matthew McConaughey, a man who believes in God. That's crazy, right? Someone like that backing RFK Jr. Maybe he's not backing, maybe he's paid, but I wanna believe.
There's a whole lot more to him than you even knew.
This pipeline is not going to benefit the American people.
I would urge you not to accept the shackles of courtroom monopoly.
We're being given this land so that we can build cities on a hill. Our civilization will be judged by future generations.
Either way, let's start with some irrefutable facts. This is Bobby Kennedy.
Yeah.
This is Bobby Kennedy in 1962. This is his dad.
That's his dad.
This is his uncle.
That's his uncle.
And this is his other uncle.
His other uncle.
He was born in 1954. He grew up in Virginia and Cape Cod. He has 7 kids. This is his wife, Cheryl. Yes, she's that Cheryl. He's an attorney. He's won hundreds of cases against companies like Monsanto, Mobil, Massey Energy, Dow
My guy's got 7 kids. Daggum, he put in the work, man.
Chemical, and a bunch of other big
A lot
careers.
of work.
He's a surfer. He's a falconer. He's a rock climber. He's a river rafter. He's a hunter. He's an outdoorsman. He was a heroin addict and an alcoholic. He's
Yeah.
been sober for decades. His voice sounds weird. That's because he has spasmodic dysphonia.
I mean, not gonna lie, his voice does sound weird. Not trying to be rude. It does. We can't lie about things here. But indeed, we must look to the spirit, not the body, right?
It's a neurological disorder that can affect the voice and speech. He can do 25 pull-ups in one go.
That's pretty good.
I can do 3. He's 70 years old, and he's running for president as an independent.
Now that's the biggest problem, right? He's an independent. He doesn't get as many funds as other candidates. He doesn't have the backing from either side of political party, but both the parties are trying to get rid of him. They're trying to cut him off and say, no. They're trying to bide him, right? They're trying to give him Secret Service, and then Trump is trying to get him to drop out of the race and endorse him, right? So it's definitely insane the way both parties are coming at him. They don't like him. They're doing hit pieces on him. They're bots, like Sneeko would say, which is insane. Kind of rude, right? But it's crazy how both sides are coming after him. And he's coming up with logical reasons to help the American people and come to peace, not war, which really important, right? Really important.
Joe, why do you think Bobby's running for president?
I think he feels like this is what he's supposed to do. He has a calling.
Who lives there?
That's my mom.
Can you talk about some of the values you learned as a kid from your uncle and your father that you're...
His mom is still alive. Daggum. She must be old, no offense. Yeah.
taking with you on this campaign?
Wow.
That's a cool jacket, boys. That's such a cool jacket. I like it.
Had a duty, they felt, make America exemplary for the rest of the world. I think the major issues that my uncle and father were interested in this country was keeping the country out of war, and then the civil rights, honest government. Those were the principal themes of his administration. And that was all in a woman with the basic Catholic Church values that we learned in catechism, which was just honesty, integrity, courage, the golden rule, being kind to other people, being kind to people, even those who you don't like.
Yeah, I mean, that's missing definitely out of politics, right? That's missing out a lot of things.
I'm optimistic about the potential for our country to still live up to its ideals. It used to be that the Democratic Party opposed censorship. It was the Democratic Party that wanted to rein in the military. It was the Democratic Party that fought corporate influenced government, which is why Wall Street and the big corporations supported Republicans. Well, now that's all changed. Right now, big oil funds the Republicans, big tech funds the Democrats, big pharma and the military contractors make sure to donate to both. Who is liberal now and who's conservative? Who's left and who's right? These labels make less and less sense. I've been fighting corporate corruption for 40 years. I know how they work. I know how to clean them up. And that's why I'm running for president, and it's why I'm running as an independent. I think the country can be recovered and restored and can become a moral authority again in the world, which is what I want. And I'm going to work as hard as I can to make that happen.
Yeah.
I started out my life wanting to be a veterinarian or a scientist, and my dad encouraged that. There was no pressure in our family to go into politics or...
That's a W Dad right there. I had to say it 3 times because the volume was too high. W Dad.
Public service.
Also, that's what's missing in today's age. No fathers. A lot of people are missing their dads. You know, that's one of the biggest issues in today, in my opinion. Love your mom, but also love your father. Must be the father role is really important in every aspect.
When he died, I felt kind of an obligation to pick up the torch that he had dropped. And so I changed my career trajectory to align it more with his.
I think everybody in my family really feels that a lot of my father's goals and ideals are worth pursuing.
And I ended up going to Harvard, which my dad did, and I went to the University of Virginia and became a lawyer and went into the DA's office, which was all very much aligned with my father's path. But I wasn't meant for that space, and I think partially my addiction was a reaction to that misalignment. I was doing things in my life that I was not intended to do. When I got sober, I reassessed my life and said, I got to get back to what I wanted to do myself, which was something to do with the outdoors.
There you go. He had to find himself, boys, and that's really important. You know, it's good that he beat his addictions, man. That takes some strength and courage to beat, man. Good for him, brother. Good for him.
And so I went to work as an attorney for fishermen on the Hudson River, suing polluters.
This is a pipe from the Putnam County Community Hospital sewage treatment plant
that had contaminated the river and were destroying their livelihoods and their industry and their property value and their lives. And it made me happy to work for them. Everything that has happened in my life has led me to where I am right now. The deaths, the tragedies, the addiction, the recovery, finding a deep belief in God.
Yes, sir.
It's immodest to say those things. Running for president is inherently immodest.
South Carolina, let's go, boy.
I'm uniquely positioned to tackle the problems that our country is facing.
In his decades-long battle to prevent big corporations from harming people, the wilderness, and our waterways, he was kind of like Aaron Brockovich, but a Kennedy. And he won hundreds of cases, mostly for people who couldn't get anyone else to take their case because it was such a long shot, or the people that they were suing were so rich and powerful. Take the Hudson River, for example. When Bobby started working to clean it up, it was so toxic that no one could swim in it. Rivers were catching on fire back then, and the pollution wasn't just a problem for recreation or health. It was killing the fishing industry that thrived.
That's good. That's a good kind of climate change, right? You know what I mean? When it's actually helping the people instead of pushing some sort of agenda, because most things nowadays is just pushing an agenda to force you to think a certain way, right? What he did there was actually helping the people so they could eat healthy fish. Eat the healthy fishies, you know? That's really good, honestly. Because he actually helped the American people. He did it for them. That's important. And he fought against the big companies, right? We want that kind of person in office who's willing to take the battle that no one else will fight. See, successful people, as we all know, do things that people don't want to do. They do the task that others will not do because it's tough and hard. That's what makes someone successful, right?
For hundreds of years. And GE refused to even admit they'd done anything wrong. What did Bobby do? He fought alongside fishermen and concerned citizens for a decade, never giving up until the industrial giants who polluted it admitted they'd caused damage and paid to clean it up.
See, let's go.
The artifact of democracy is, in our country, are the law courts, where little guys can get a voice.
That's your duh.
And that's what the inside of the kids' lungs are going to look like, too.
He fought and beat these big corporations because they had harmed the environment and, most importantly, the people living in that environment. It's a fight he's been in his whole adult life.
This battle that we're all fighting for today, that you're on the front lines of, this is the final battle. This is the battle against ignorance and greed.
Protecting the environment, protect animal habitat, protecting the air we breathe, those are not political issues. Those are issues that we should be concerned that our future.
Those issues, as we know, are caused by the companies, and he's doing good work over here. Kind of like Theodore. I hate to always compare him to Theodore Roosevelt, but this is the kind of stuff that he would fight against, right? Protecting the people and the environment, which God gave us this earth, so we should probably take care of it. And If the things that these companies and the government is doing is harming the people, then we should stop it. I think that's a good case for it. A lot of Republicans will be like, no, climate change is bad. But when it's like this, it's understandable to fight these things, right? I think both sides are corrupt. I lean towards the Republican side, but I will never call myself a Republican ever again because how corrupt it is, and they worship owls naked. They worship owls naked, boys. Zen break, sorry. All these people are worshiping the owls naked and afraid. And having sex. Having sex with the owl worshipping stuff, you know? Which is weird. It's weird, no offense. I hate to bring the owls into this, but it's what they do, maybe. Allegedly, right? Just someone joking. Okay? But I think when it's like this, and the companies are hurting the people and the environment, then someone has to stand up like Kennedy did and say, hey, we're going to stop this, right? And that's good. That's a reasonable fight, right? I think it's good. I think it's
Generations can enjoy. Here's a guy who is not talking about the environment. He is living with the environment. He's engaging with the environment. He is loving the environment. I remember staying over at his house with my sons, and I woke up in the morning and they were all gone. And I go down to the ocean, and there's Bobby teaching my two sons how to dredge along the shoreline, and he's saying, this animal is this, and this is so-and-so. That one you can't touch. This one, pick it up, yeah. And my boys are learning all of this stuff. And when I saw that, I thought I would love for a president to invite the children of America.
Alright guys, I gotta stop it one more time. Subscribe if you want to see more of this journey we're following with Kennedy. I'm sorry I have to do that. Sound like every other YouTuber. Next thing I do is sell an NFT. Scamming here, boys. I'm scamming. Let's go. We're all fired up. Next Logan Paul. No, I'm joking.
Back into connection with their environment, and how remarkable it would be to glorify this thing that we are built to love.
We're hunters, we're fishermen. The land is our grocery store. The land is still the largest employer. A project was annexed, dispossess us. The land that would be flooded would drive us off the land. And Robert F. Kennedy understood the environmental impacts. Because of that, his political clout and his concern for a violation of human rights, a concern for a free, prior, informed consent of indigenous peoples, we saved the river and saved the way of life.
He was so popular as a public official and an environmentalist, and he was so successful. There's a path he could have taken that I think most people would have taken. Don't rock the boat too much. Be a corporate-friendly environmentalist. Play by the rules.
No, you
Let
can't.
big oil do what they want. Let the chemical companies do what they want. Let all the big ag companies screw over all the small farmers. But he didn't take that path. He couldn't take that path. He knew that the problem with accommodating big...
You know the guy that fought against poisoning the frogs with water? You know that guy named Alex? Zen's got my nose. No, but you know, as I was saying, Alex, man, he was right about a lot of things. And he steps outside the box. Maybe he's wrong about one or two things, right? Maybe. But he's right about a lot. And Kennedy sure has went outside the box. And that is commendable. Because he's facing giants here, boys. He's facing giants. It's like David versus Goliath. Not saying he's David, because David was a big guy. I don't know if he was big in stature, but he was a big guy, right? But... he's facing an uphill battle. He's facing a big battle. And I think we must, if we want this guy in office, I like this video, he's like, we must believe this guy will win, that can win, because the media is painting a different picture. They're putting him as an underdog that can never win this fight because of the two political party system. A lot of you guys' comments were right, bro. I have to say, they were right. I appreciate all the comments, boys. Thank you for your opinion. I always appreciate that. But I like what a lot of you guys are saying. You're not listening to the media, man. Much respect out there, I tell you. Seriously. You don't need me to say that to you. But this guy's facing an uphill battle. It's going to be tough, but we must believe this guy can win. I kind of believe he can, but it's just like I've said on previous live streams or videos. He has to get on all the ballots so we can vote for him, so he can get in, right? Most important thing. Because if he can't get in on the ballots, there's no possibility. Now suck. But let's continue.
Big corporations is it doesn't make any real change. You need to be courageous to make real change. You need to rock the damn boat.
Yes,
because
sir.
The system doesn't just need tweaks at the margin.
Yes, sir.
It actually
Let's
needs a
go.
wholesale rethinking.
Yeah, this was when I got arrested in Vegas. 34 days in Guanabo,
that's
which
not
is a
funny.
maximum security prison in Puerto Rico.
Ooh.
The Navy was staging invasions of Vegas that mimicked the Normandy invasion. The people on the island were, almost all of them had been poisoned. The food was poisoned. The fish were poisoned.
Curiosity drives his intellect, just as compassion mobilizes his soul. He's talking about power and the nature of power, the manipulation of power, and the exploitation of power.
You know, I saw him sue Monsanto on behalf of one man. You know, people said that can't be done, you're not gonna win.
I basically would take care of stuff like this. All the trees, all the bushes. I was supposed to also apply pesticide. I got sick applying the herbicide. And I told my employer, they weren't buying that. And they were like, we hired you to do this. That's what your contract says. And that's what contracts are, right? So I was fired.
If my life were a Superman comic book, Monsanto would be my Lex Luthor.
My skin was really, really good skin before any of this happened. This thing slowly started.
My goodness.
And then once it started, it didn't stop till they sent me to the doctor and got the results for cancer.
The doctor's
man.
prognosis of him was so desperate that it was unlikely that he would survive to try the second case.
You gotta realize I have full body skin cancer, and at one point, it was totally out of control. Clothes were sticking to my wounds.
The odds were against us, but the outcome was so important that it justified those high risks.
At that press conference, he was literally emotional. Happy for me and my family, and for Monsanto getting a swift one.
I don't think anybody thinks he'd be alive if he had not had millions of dollars to spend on medical care.
As a result of all this work, all these fights on behalf of the environment, he becomes one of the most popular and revered people in America. He's giving 80 speeches a year to groups all over the country. He's talked about as a candidate for higher office. He's offered the U.S. Senate seat for the state of New York, a job his dad had. He turns it down.
What?
It's hard to get more revered than this guy.
He's our boy.
My name is Lynn Redwood. Bobby refers to me as the woman who ruined his career. I knew that he was going around the country lecturing about the dangers of mercury.
So these women start showing up at every lecture that I give.
Literally thousands of parents.
And they believed that their children had been injured by the vaccines. They would say to me, if you're really interested in mercury exposure to children, you need to look at the vaccines. Now, this is something I didn't want to do.
And it wasn't until one of the mothers was able to carry our documents to his house.
A pile of scientific studies that was 18 inches thick.
Knock on his door and convince him to read them.
When I read that, then I was like, okay, I got to drop everything and do something about this.
He wrote an article, and it was where he covered the minutes to a private meeting that CDC had, where they acknowledged these signals in the data between exposure to the vaccines containing mercury and autism. When they walked out of that meeting, that was not ever shared with the public.
Maybe this isn't time to say this, but maybe that's why I have autism. No, probably not. Probably not. Sorry, boys. But that's, I mean, mercury in vaccines and jabby jabs. That's crazy. Allegedly. I don't want to say anything about it. Allegedly.
I was kind of shocked by just the power of the reaction against it. Rolling Stone and Salon, which also published it, were just bulldozed with, these hate reactions.
Wait, hold up. If there's receipts to this, then it's validated, right? It's true. If the CDC says yep, then you know.
Under pressure, Salon takes it down.
Here's the deal. There are only two entities in America who are immune from litigation: the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and pharmaceutical companies in their production of vaccines.
What? That's a bunch of load of baloney, man. Oh, that is insane. Not baloney about what they're saying, but what's going on with them, you know, with the companies. That is insane. Now we know who's protected, bro.
That's it. And the rest of us are held accountable when we harm someone. But not Big Pharma's vaccines.
Way before any presidential campaign, I was struck by seeing somebody who was willing to take on fights against weapons manufacturers that are the biggest lobbyists in D.C., and then Big Pharma, which has now become the biggest lobbyists in D.C. And when I first heard of him, he was working against mercury in fish. Nobody ever said he was anti-fish. But as soon as he was interested in getting mercury out of childhood vaccines, then suddenly he's anti-vaccine, a pejorative.
He knows about the corruption. So, you know, the attacks, the names that he's called, he knows in his heart that he's right.
He gets it from his family, his father especially, didn't care who liked him or didn't like him. When Bobby knows.
That is why everyone loves him, right? All these things he's fighting for, you know, I hope his route isn't the same as his, you know, other family members. Put it lightly, right? But he's going against the whole world, right? His movement is going against the grain. It's going against the powers that be, right? It's going against everything. Like Theodore Roosevelt said, carry a big stick and speak softly. I messed it up, but something like that. Boys, if you can, I have autism. Majorly sometimes. So guys, if you can clarify that for me in the chats, please do. Sometimes you guys are smarter than I. But yeah, this guy's going against everything. And he's speaking so many things I believed through my teenage years all the way up till now. Speaking, it feels like his views are my views, right? But I don't want to, you know, make him an idol or anything, but it's very similar to what I believe. Less government, but help out people, right? Stay out of wars, really important. And help out the fellow man, the American people, right? The American people. But let's continue.
Knows that there's an injustice going on. It consumes him.
He's a truth teller. He has a desire to set things right.
Thanks to pressure from millions of people, they've taken mercury out of most vaccines. But pharmaceutical companies are still immune from prosecution and litigation. And vaccines aren't subject to the same rigorous safety testing as other medicines. And that's not right.
Yeah.
Companies who harm people have to be held accountable.
This industry is powerful, and it has deep ties with media, and it has deep ties with government.
Why do you think these drug companies are spending so much money on ads during the news? It's not to sell their products. They're doing just fine with that. It's because they want to control the message.
They hate Bobby Kennedy. There is a person standing in their way, like a student standing in front of one of those tanks in Tiananmen Square.
I fear that a rushed COVID vaccine wouldn't be as safe or as effective as we were promised. And I also felt that lockdowns were going to do more harm than good, especially to small businesses and to children. But when I made those arguments publicly, I was silenced.
So powerful
We love that
corporations
guy.
and partners in the media have a playbook they use on you when you beat them too much, and in areas you can cost them real money. They implemented every page in the playbook on Bobby when he decided to question the absolute moral purity of the gods of Big Pharma. Pharma was apparently beyond reproach, and when Bobby questioned them, his adoring press turned faster than the weather in Texas.
I did press on presidential campaigns and campaigns in general for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
What generally happens with people like me is when we're done with the trench warfare of campaigns, which is low-paying and grueling work, big corporations hire people like me to come inside and implement the playbook, defend them from attacks, and run an offensive attack against people that the corporation doesn't like or who is threatening the corporation.
That is crazy. They have so many loopholes to go against people that want to change things. Days have certainly changed since JFK, honestly. Been in constant wars, no peace. Just a power-hungry country that doesn't help the people. Ronald Reagan said a lot of good things and did a lot of good things, but he's still worshiping now. Maybe, allegedly, right? Worshipping owls aren't that cool. I'm joking. Definitely joking, 100%. Let's continue.
And here's the way the playbook works. First, they attack you broadly and they question your facts. They say you're lying and it's ferocious. But if you keep on moving after that, they move.
This guy named Alex was placed, they stamped conspiracy theorist right on his head. They said, hey buddy, here you go. Little tape on your forehead, you dumb little bitch. Sorry. You're a conspiracy theorist. Maybe he was wrong about a few things. One or two, couple, right? But everything else, he was right about 011, dude. 2001, he was right about that mostly. About the Island Boys. He was right about that. He wasn't wrong. But yeah, he was that guy was right about that. And they want to label everyone that doesn't agree with them either a conspiracy theorist or just a crazy, insane, mentally unstable person. And some of them are. Some of them are a little crazy, not mentally unstable. That'd be rude to say. But they want to label you things so you're outcasted and not part of the tribe. You're not part of the tribe. You don't kiss your dog or your cousin. You're weird. You're weird. You don't give them a hug and say I love you. Especially in Alabama, they love their cousins a little bit too much. No offense, you know, they love to kiss them. Touch their toes, some weird stuff. Even peanut butter's involved. I don't know these things. But RFK, man, he's just being placed into a position where everyone dislikes him, especially the media. Kind of like with Trump in 2016, no one liked him, except the right side. But Trump still talks about the liberals, you know, about the left, and then the left says the right is dumb, and then the right fights back and says you're evil, you know? Seems like you worship owls and Satan. That's what they say. But each side is fighting each other, and that's what social media is putting a light on, and then the government's just letting it play out, right? And they stalk us. Like a little stalker, ex-girlfriend. They just look outside your window and say, hey, what are you doing? Gotta lick your toenails? Some weird stuff, right? Hey, give me a hug and a kiss, you know, stuff like that. And then try to Bill Cosby you. Some special Island Boys kind of thing, you know what I mean? Just weird things is going on. But, yeah, they're pushing RFK Jr. to the side. And labeling him with certain
Move
things.
on to character assassination. They take on who you are as a person. They dig up everything bad in your past and leak it to the press. If you had a fender bender, you're a reckless driver. If you paid a bill late, you're a deadbeat, and so on and so on. Every part of your life goes
Pretty
under
cool
their
hair.
microscope.
Pretty cool
They
hair,
try to
boys.
embarrass you.
Not gonna lie.
They try to make you say this fight isn't worth what it's costing me, and you quit. But if that doesn't stop you, and it stops most people, but it didn't stop Bobby, they say you're a liar. If liar doesn't work, they say you're an anti-Semite and a racist.
What?
No two slurs in America are worse than those. No slur, except crazy. Crazy or kook or crank or nut job are their mainstays. That's their nuclear option. Because if they can get everyone to dismiss you as a wacko nut job...
RFK Jr. spreading some really deranged lies.
I mean, his own family doesn't support him.
Everything you say is suspect. And then they can get back to selling whatever thing it is you said might not be safe.
It's all propaganda, bro.
It works.
It's all propaganda.
Like damn near 100% of the time it works.
There was a period of time, and when I was a kid, when doctors were recommending that you smoke cigarettes. There's advertisements.
Have you seen that movie, The Insider, with Russell Crowe and Al Pacino? Russell Crowe plays a whistleblower, Jeffrey Wigand. It's a true story. He worked at a tobacco company, and he blew the whistle on Big Tobacco. He said that cigarettes and tobacco were, shocker, addictive and cancer-causing.
We are in the nicotine delivery business.
That's what he told. The truth. What did they do? Big Tobacco destroyed him, and they used the playbook to do it. And here's the thing. If all the publications and TV shows you trust tell you someone's a crazy person, they must be a crazy person, right?
When you can just make things up, that must feel good to him.
Wrong. A lot of times, the crazy person is just someone brave enough to speak truth to power.
They viewed Jesus as a not trying to compare RFK Jr. to Jesus. We're nothing like him, right? Nothing. But they viewed Jesus as a blasphemer, right? They viewed him as a crazy man. Because he created a whole new system that saved us from eternal hell, right? If we believe in what he did and abide in him and just believe in him and have faith and, let him live through us, right? What he did on the cross, man, was important. So that's not besides the point. It's a giant point. But they viewed Jesus as a guy. The people in power viewed him as a blasphemer, someone who wasn't the Son of God, because it went after their power in society, right? He went after their. He didn't really. He just came here to change the whole world, and he did. There's a whole new era of time named after him. There's no other person in time that had that happen to them because of them, right? Before Christ and after Christ, right? Whole new time sequence, right? But if you go against the status quo, as they say, and go after the people in power are not going to be happy because you're trying to dismantle what they built, right? And they don't seem to like it that much. And he's actually standing up for the people, the Americans, and people from other parts of the world, right? He wants to help all of us out. And I hope his actions back up his speech, right? That's the most important thing. Like I've been saying a lot, probably too much, but I'm just worried because all other politicians have said good things, but then do the complete opposite, right? We've all seen that happen. But his lineage speaks volumes to how we can trust the fella, Because how Kennedy was president. He led the country, came to terms with Russia, and tried to fix things with Cuba, withdrawn troops from Vietnam before he was all forward in a video game, but in real life, So, his lineage speaks volumes. But let's finish this. Let's finish most of the rest of this video.
But it's not like the playbook didn't work to a large degree. This is New York Magazine in 1995. This is New York Magazine in 2023. This is Vanity Fair in 2006. This is Vanity Fair in 2023. This is Rolling Stone in 1992. This is Rolling Stone in 2023. Standing up to them exacts a real cost, and that's why they do it.
I just thought it was important.
And what was the cost?
The cost was that I lost a lot of friendships, lost my jobs at the environmental groups. I lost the relationships that I'd built over maybe 50 years of life I had close friends who just told me they couldn't be my friend anymore. So now I'm subject to this new form of censorship, which is called targeted propaganda, where people apply pejoratives like anti-vax. I've never been anti-vaccine, but everybody in this room probably believes that I have been, because that's the prevailing narrative. My children are vaxxed. I'm fully compliant with the vaccine schedule myself, except for COVID. I have never been anti-vax. Anti-Semitism, racism. These are the most appalling, disgusting pejoratives, and they're applied to me to silence me. If somebody shows me a fact and I'm wrong, I'm going to change my opinion.
Yeah. And this is why people love the fella, dude. Because he's the most logical one of them all, right? Like he said, if someone provides him the receipts and the facts, he will change his mind. Reasonable, right? Reasonable. Well, we gotta trust the source. We gotta know it's true.
Opinion. And I'll apologize.
Yes, sir.
But calling me names is not an argument.
Bobby actually encourages healthy debate.
Yes, sir.
That is the environment he's going to create in the country. Healthy debate.
Yes, sir.
Honest conversation, and a way forward that is derived from consensus is what's happening inside of the campaign. Now we need to have that happen inside the country.
Yes, sir.
On a large scale.
Let's go.
You know, some of your family is against you running for president.
Well, I have a big family. I think last time we did a count at July 4th, there was something like 105 candidates. So it's not surprising that 4 or 5 of them, don't agree with every decision that I make.
You know, I don't agree with Bobby on all issues.
Yeah.
I don't expect to agree with my president on all issues. But what I take away from his stand on vaccines is that here's a man of the courage of his convictions. And he maintained those convictions.
Yes, sir.
In the face of incredible opposition and at enormous expense.
The other thing is, my family was raised to debating each other. Every night at dinner, my father would choose debate topics, and we would debate each other with passion, but also with respect and congeniality. I wish the same thing for our country. I wish that we could all disagree with each other on political issues and still see each other as part of a family. My father used to tell us that we should always do the most difficult thing. He'd say, do the thing that scares you most. If something...
How powerful that actually is. Dude, do the thing that scares you the most, right? Like, the people that served on Normandy, they're probably terrified. The risk, right? The risk to put yourself on the line for your brothers, right? Or to go up to, I know this is way tinier or smaller, less comparable to that. But like if you see a lady and she's pretty, you might be a little scared, but we should probably talk to her, but not creep her out and give her like this kind of eyes. Hey, I'm an alpha male. You probably shouldn't do that. That'd be weird and that would freak her out. She might think you have a van full of candy or sandwiches. That would definitely freak her out and give her the creeps. Or if you need to go like record a video, but you're a little bit, nervous and scared about it, but it's what you want to do, you probably could go do it and get it done and have fun with it. But yeah, because that would be something my dad would tell me right there, man. It's pretty awesome to see things like that. It puts you back in that place, you know what I mean, where someone really important in your life was there, you know what I mean? It's really cool to see things like that.
Frightens you, maybe you should do it. Because each time you do that, it gives you the opportunity to find the hero inside of yourself. Our duty while we're here on Earth is to embrace whatever destiny befalls us. And knowing that the more difficult a challenge is, the more unpleasant or or tragic the circumstances of our lives, then all of those things are actually gifts. They're opportunities because we come, by surviving them and enduring them, we come away with a greater strength of character and wisdom. And we're not here on the earth to just make a big pile for ourselves, and whoever dies with the most stuff wins.
Guys, I don't want to always push it back to God, but I will. At your lowest, Jesus was there. Your highest, he was there. You guys aren't Christian, but you're not always alone. You know what I mean? Someone's there with you. Most importantly, him. But he was there at your lowest, and he will be there at your highest. That's pretty cool. Not that I said that, but it doesn't matter if I said that. But that's pretty cool to think about. But back to Robert F. Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy, our boy. I see why a lot of people love the guy. His story is tremendous. It's fantastic, man. On to end it on a few good notes. We gotta put the American flag on our back. Because we love America. Let me move it. Don't look at my butterflies. But I can see why a lot of people love the guy, honestly. He fights for the people, man. And if someone brings him the facts to change his mind, then he will. Where is that honesty and transparency in politicians or in politics at all? It's gone. It's non-existent. Trump even would never do that, right? But Trump has done some good things, not gonna lie. But if I had to vote, I would vote for Robert F. Kennedy. I lost a little bit of trust in him, not gonna lie, with the leaked phone call, because that was kind of odd. But I'm gonna choose not to have faith in him, because that'd be weird. But I'm gonna choose to vote for him. He's the best of all three. He's not aligned with the two political parties, but if he's a plant, we're in trouble. If he's like a sunflower trying to create evilness, then that's a problem, right? We're going to look more into it, but as of now, RFK might be the guy. Especially when he fought for a good environment and helping the people out. I think that's really important, man. Helping out your fellow person, your fellow man, your fellow woman. I think that's important. And bringing back honesty to politics and transparency and coming together as nations. If we're in the end of times, oh well, just gotta have faith and believe and put our trust in Jesus and all that stuff, right? If we're not, awesome, either way. But I think if I had to vote today, I'd vote for RFK. It needs to be on all ballots, so we can trust that he can do the job and we can vote him in, right? We just gotta believe the underdog can win, because right now he's the underdog fighting against two tyrants. Not tyrants, but like two tyrant parties, right? Let me word that correctly, right? Where I don't get stabbed by someone or a ghost or a little person or an orphan, I don't know, or a crippled one. We love crippled ones too, I think. No, I know. We love all people of all ages. Wait, no, not like that, not like that. I don't know why I gotta correct myself on that. But, fuck. Sorry. We love everybody in a good way. We're not island boys. Besides that kind of autism, besides that Caesar I had for a second there, I'm voting for RFK Jr. We're going to do more research to make sure that we make a logical choice, but as of now, I believe he's our boy. He's our guy. He's the guy that can help, I think. Him or Trump, but right now I think it's RFK. But we got to keep on watching, keep on, following this and seeing if RFK can do the thing,